Now, when I was 8 years old, I was a little bit of a dreamer. I used to enjoy watching sci-fi. So, on a Saturday evening, you might find me watching Knight Rider, watching Star Wars. As I grew up, I'd watch Red Dwarf, and today I've got my own 8-year-old boys, and they enjoy watching Iron Man. And what I really enjoy about this whole kind of escape to fantasy and looking at these kind of sci-fi movies and TV shows is the vision of these sci-fi writers. What they're able to do is they're able to kind of put their minds in the future, and what they knew very, very succinctly, is that one day we were going to surround ourselves with complex technology and complex systems. And they also knew that the best way to communicate with these complex systems is voice. We speak about 160 words per minute, so we can only type into our tiny little handsets at about 50 or 60 words a minute. So, if you are Iron Man, or you are Tony Stark trying to talk to Jarvis and fight the baddies, the best way is to call Jarvis, and he will sort things out. I just didn't know I was going to have to wait this long in order for me to make this my career. So if we've not met before, my name is Charlie Cadbury. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Say It Now. Now, we are an ads tech business, and we work exclusively in the world of voice. And so when I say voice, these are your friends, Google Assistant, Alexa, Siri. And what we do is we harness the incredible power of these voice assistants in order to guide consumers gently down this consideration journey towards purchase, or play a meaningful role at one of these steps. And what we've been doing at Say It Now, we've had a good run of things. We won the Alexa Cup, which is a global competition that Amazon puts out in order to see what could be done with this Alexa platform. We acquired a North American voice tech business last year, which kind of industrialized our process, allowed us to take on a whole load more capabilities so that we could do things quicker, faster, better. And that led to us being named by Group M in December as their voice partner, which is all really good. But let's take a step back and have a look at the evolution of technology, and why this is the magic moment for voice. And what we see is about every 15 years or so, the way that we interface with our technology changes or takes kind of a big step up. So we used to have to kind of tap into green screens and know all the code in order to get the right answers out. And then Windows were invented, and we suddenly had a graphical interface with a mouse that we could click around that allowed us to do things faster. And then we distributed all the information so that we could then share knowledge around the world through the web. And then we invented these amazing supercomputers in our pockets so we could get hold of this through mobile. And right now, about 15 years after the rise of mobile, we're really seeing this revolution in voice. The technology's here, the distribution's here, and I'll kind of contextualize that in kind of buzzwords of the moment, if you will. So Web 3.0, and if you want to know a little bit more about Web 3.0, I would highly recommend the Spatial Web guy, Gabriel Rennie and Dan Lutz. And so the way that they lay things out is, again, kind of looking back at how we've been laddering up. As in the beginning, we had a database that ran programs on a desktop, and it was all quite siloed right here. And then we put them onto servers that you could access through a browser from around the world through websites. That was on Web 1.1. And then we had this kind of back and forward engagement, those kind of websites where that distributed to kind of cloud-based computing that you could see through a mobile by using apps. And what we're seeing with Web 3 is we've got very kind of distributed architecture, so we can store points of information all over the place. And kind of the parallel to apps here is kind of more intelligent systems that are able to then bubble up and talk to you, or kind of communicate with you in different ways through AR, VR, IoT. This is where you can start to kind of have metaverse type conversations. And this whole idea, and I'm going to read a quote here, is the concept is this term spatial in the spatial web refers to how our future interfaces enable a web that extends beyond the screen to integrate and embed spatial content and interactions, facilitated by distributed computing, decentralized data, ubiquitous intelligence, and ambient, persistent edge computing. Each of these technology trends fundamentally extends computing power further into the space around us, bringing new dimensions of experience, connection, trust, and intelligence to the world. Now, I couldn't have said that all myself. So where we really play is, this layer, which is the edge with kind of smart speakers or voice assistants, and that's beginning to deliver this whole idea of ambient computing that you'll hear Amazon and Google talking about a lot. And how are they doing with this? So let's look at the growth of voice in these smart speakers. So these kind of came into our collective consciousness about 11 years ago is when Siri was launched. It took a little while before we reached kind of mass adoption, but by 2018 there were more than 500 million of these smart devices, and very much in parallel with what we're talking about now, with these being embedded everywhere. The next car you buy will have a voice assistant in, the next earbuds you buy will be voice assistants enabled, fridges, microwaves, whatever. These are all the IoT bits that I was talking about on the last slide, which allows us to think about access to our technology, access to this computing, no matter where we are in an ambient settings. This is really exciting. It's very much now. And let's contextualize, this conference is all about audio. So using this whole concept, these things that you're going to talk to, that's audio, that's using voice and sound. So now we believe is audio advertising's big moment of digital transformation. So if we take a step back and think, what we mean by digital transformation, kind of the big drivers, think 20 years ago, where we went from consuming kind of printed media to starting to consume that same media through screens. What we were doing then is we were taking the same kind of ad campaigns that we'd run on kind of banners and skies in a newspaper or magazine, but we were putting them within the context of a screen. So there we were able to measure, what content was driving people to that content in the first instance, but B, what creative was then encouraging people to click through to the idea of a microsite or that next stage of the journey. And because you get that immediate feedback, you're then able to kind of optimize that in real time. Now, to date, audio streaming has been mainly broadcast one way, but with these speakers, which are now smart speakers, we have the opportunity for engagement, so we can get actionable data, insight, and understanding about what's going on with these campaigns. So let's have a look at the landscape. Now, right now, we've got about half of UK homes have a smart speaker in, and about 35% of US homes have a smart speaker. We're expecting that to push 40% this year. It's predicted that there's going to be more than $163 billion worth of voice transactions by 2025. And interestingly, what's driving voice commerce and voice transactions faster than kind of mobile commerce took off is that when you start to use a voice assistant, you log in with your Amazon or Google or Apple credentials, and immediately you've turned on the ability to use Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Amazon Pay. And so voice commerce is going to come hard and fast. When someone makes the first voice transaction, that the second one is not far behind. So what we did is we had a look at key behaviors. What do people actually do with their smart speakers? And it's really kind of two things stand out at the top. They listen to streaming audio and they ask questions. And so what we've done is we've created these actionable audio ads. And what we thought was a very important thing to do is to make sure that we didn't have to do any kind of integration at all. So every audio campaign that's running today with a small tweak in the creative could become an actual audio campaign overnight. So exactly the same audio run, 30 or 40-second audio spots through standard tags. They run, but the call to action at the end of these campaigns says, if you'd like to know more about this campaign, to purchase this product, to download this coupon, to book a dentist appointment, then just say this to your smart speaker. You get this moment of engagement. We have back and forward conversation between the human and the smart speaker. But very importantly, we're now getting these kind of live insights. We're pulling together the media reports, the engagement reports, and the action reports, so the kind of campaign outcome report in a live environment, so we can then use that data to optimize that campaign in real time. I'm going to walk through kind of 3 real world examples now. So this is these kind of campaigns that are out in the wild through Barocco, which is by Bayer, something from Diageo, and a campaign with Crisis. And we might even try a live demo here. So we've been running actual audio campaigns since 2020, but we had our kind of big global media first at Splash is when we were actually able to be the first audio campaign where you could buy a physical product. Ran in February 2021. I was up for a few awards last year. I'll show you what this looked and sounded like now.
London's heart Right now, the weather is cold and wintry. You can expect yet more morning Zoom calls. Oh, sorry, I always feel tired on days like this. If you feel this way, try Barocca Boost. With caffeine to improve alertness and vitamin B12 to help reduce tiredness and fatigue. Switch on your Monday morning. Say launch Barocca Boost on this device now.
Alexa, launch Barocca Boost.
Welcome to Barocca Boost. Would you like to order some Barocca Boost tablets or hear more information about the product?
Order.
Would you like to order a package of 20 Barocca Boost using your default payment method and address?
Yes.
Here are the product details from Amazon. Would you like to buy it?
Yes.
Thank you for ordering Barocca Boost.
Now, what song am I going to play you?
Can I have Shannon let the music play, please?
Let the music play. One of our club classics.
Good song.
Great song. And who's it going to be for?
So as you saw, chopping carrots in the kitchen, hear a radio ad, listen to Heart, listen to the radio ad during the normal ad spot, engaged with that campaign, bought a packet of Barocca Boost, and I was back listening to Heart before I knew it with a massive pile of chopped carrots in front of me. So what we saw from this campaign is that people spend about 30 seconds within that golden path we're optimizing for purchase there. About 24% of people who entered the skill ended up purchasing a packet of Barocca Boost. If you compare that to a web campaign driving to an e-commerce sale, that's normally about 1.5%. The difference being is that if you're in a conversation, there's this concept of conversational cadence and turn taking, and it kind of pushes you down that funnel. And we can also see how many people ask for more information about the product. And we got a very close working relationship with Amazon. They asked last summer to talk at Alexa Live about a new bit of functionality that they had brought out, specifically about using these voice experiences to send links to phone. And we can send links to app downloads, to booking test drives, or downloading coupons. And this is the flow.
Alexa, open Talisker Tasting.
We're always looking at ways at how we can use our deeply engaging Alexa experience in new and interesting ways.
Firstly, pour a dram of whiskey into a glass. Let's take a moment to look at the colour. Now, on to tasting.
In a time where we want to encourage consumers to go back into the on-trade and into bars and pubs, the centre phone functionality comes at a perfect time because it's going to enable us to be able to marry both the in-home experience and the on-trade experience.
If you enjoyed that, we'd love to offer you 40% off a Talisker 10-year-old in a bar. Would you like us to send a coupon to your phone?
Yes.
So here, you can see how you can drive from an audio experience, a voice experience, directly through the phone, then into kind of in-store redemption here, and all of those events are trackable. I'm going to end up with a campaign run in December, specifically around driving to charitable donations.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Jo Brand. As a crisis supporter, I've learnt that Christmas is one of the hardest times to be homeless. This year, you can give someone who's homeless the support they need. Crisis is providing food, advice, a place to stay, and is helping people to find somewhere to call home. Please donate by simply asking your smart speaker to Open Crisis UK. Help someone take their first steps out of homelessness. Say Open Crisis UK on this device now.
And so if you then go to your smart speaker, say Open Crisis UK, you then are able to make a donation within 30 seconds. And so I'll bring that onto a point. We've launched today a white paper with Octave, which talks through 3 different campaigns we ran with Crisis, NSPCC, and Macmillan. Talks about the learnings, the objectives that we were trying to go towards, what we've learned about these kind of campaigns. And it's really interesting. We can see how this idea of kind of in the moment insights then allows us to optimize these campaigns as we kind of progress down the road. We saw relatively high positive intents for NSPCC over Macmillan, and that's because there was a game built in, and Crisis above Macmillan. So we were using the voice of Joe Brown actually within the skill and Alexa's native voice in this Macmillan experience just here, and we can then see this kind of conversion rates. And we were actually interesting within the crisis campaign. We noticed that we ran 2 creatives with crisis. We saw that the Joe Brown creative was performing better after the first couple of weeks, so we swapped it out and were able to use that insight to get far better performance in the second half of that campaign. Just an example of how this in the moment insight is easily applied. So, you know, down to this kind of idea of attribution. So we now have audio attribution, which has entered the digital age. So very much like any other channel that you're using in order to reach your target audience, audio is now able to be kind of viewed in a similar way. We've got the same kind of points to measure. So we can aggregate kind of cross-publisher. We can see all this real-time information in order to make real-time in-flight decisions around campaign. We can understand what's going on and kind of optimize this in real time or near real time. And obviously, as I touched on earlier, we've got logged in consumers, so we've got the opportunity to sell directly from these environments, and we've got this joined up send to phone journey. So if you're trying to get someone to take the next step, you're able to drop a link onto the phone. So, you know, finally, kind of in summary, you know, we've now got audio to web parity. With web, you have a display ad, an engagement that leads to a landing page, and then all the rich data that comes with that. Now in audio, we've got the audio ads, the voice response, which is the engagement piece, and then the dialogue, this voice style, this voice skill, which is equivalent to the landing page, and then the insight that goes with this. So now with actionable audio, now is audio's big moment of digital transformation. So if you're planning an audio campaign which is not actionable, it's akin to planning a display campaign you cannot click. So I'd now like to welcome any questions that you might have. We run quite a fun WhatsApp group with this kind of insight. If you'd like to join, point to your phone at the screen right now. So a question we've had in: how long is the window available to follow the instructions in the ad? So the way that we build this is we build a skill which is always on from on the Alexa and Google environments. So if you hear the audio campaign and then an hour later you go to your device and say Crisis UK, open Alexa, open Crisis UK, then you can still have access to that, and then we keep that open for the flight of the campaign, and then obviously access to all of the data that goes with that. I think we've hit the mark for time, and I've been told we cannot answer any more questions, but please hop on this WhatsApp group and respond in real time. Thank you very much.